Dave, introduce this episode, you cheese-chucking son of a gun.
Meeple Nation Podcast, episode 511, Reflections on 2023 and Top 5 Games of the Year.
Welcome, citizens, to Meeple Nation. Grab your favorite beverage, pull up a chair, warm up those dice, and join us at the game table as we discuss board games and the board gaming world. Each week, the hosts of Meeple Nation share their love for board games and the amazing memories that come from playing games with some very outstanding people. Let us now join our hosts in their natural habitat, the game table.
Meeple Nation Podcast is sponsored by GameToppersLLC.com. Check out their website. They have amazing products that we have thoroughly enjoyed over the years. They have toppers that will fit on virtually any surface, gorgeous game mats that are themed that can go with a plethora of games, and cup holders. We use our cup holders all the time. In fact, we had a get-together on Saturday, and it was quite nice to be able to have cup holders to accommodate those sodas so that they're not spilling on your games. GameToppersLLC.com. Check them out. We promise you'll love what you find.
We are the hosts of Meeple Nation. I'm Douglas Stewart.
I'm Nathan Howard.
I'm Dave Holliday.
And I am Andy Holliday.
Excellent. And we have a pretty cool website. Head on over to MeepleNation.com, where you can listen to all of our past episodes, read some blogs, learn a little bit more about us, and find links to all of our social accounts. You will also find a link to our Patreon page, where you can become a patron of the show. We appreciate our patrons so much and would love your consideration for becoming a patron. We're trying to get some bonus material out there. Our patrons currently are getting early access to bonus episodes, and we've got more stuff coming in the future. So go check that out. And as always, we would love to hear from you. So please email us at meeplenation@gmail.com.
It is that time. We are here to talk about some highlights. Dave, what is on the top of your list?
I had a real good week of some games where I got to play Terraforming Mars.
We're talking about highlights today, though.
Which is always amazing.
When did you play Terraforming Mars?
I had to go back a couple weeks because I haven't been playing games very much.
That sounds terrible.
It was awesome. It was actually very, very cool.
I'm super happy for you, Dave.
Who did you play with?
Fritchett and Dennis and Beyonce.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was really good. And I also played Unfair a couple of times, and it's one of Dennis's favorite games, and it's growing on me. The first time I played it, I was like, but every time I play it now, I start to see a little bit more and go, you know what, that's actually really quite a good game.
Have you played Funfair?
I think so. Yes, I have.
I really like Funfair, but I have not played Unfair yet. Which is the better game?
I don't remember Funfair, so I'm going with Unfair.
So
Okay.
Funfair is just like Unfair, except for without the take that.
Yeah.
When I played Unfair, there's not a whole lot of really take that. It's the game is dealing some take that to you, but not really between players.
Not necessarily doing it to each other.
Right.
Interesting.
Nice. We got together and we got to bust out Return to Dark Tower with the new expansion, the Covenant expansion. And I've played it twice now. The game that we all played together was Richie, David, Logan, and myself, and we lost. We were so close to winning, and the adversary came out. It was my very first attack against the adversary, first attack against him for the game, and he gave a corruption to David.
To me.
And David was at 3 corruption already. He had the character that you can hold up to 3 corruption, which put him at his 4th, and we lost.
Ouch.
Right out of the gates as soon as the adversary came out of the tower. We played it again, and we ended up winning that one. But the Covenant expansion really kind of changes up the game quite a bit and makes it kind of refreshes the game if you've played a lot of it with the previous expansion or just the base game. It adds new characters and just new things to do, and it was a lot of fun. I had a good time.
I can't wait to play that. It's sitting on my shelf. I got to get it out and get it played.
So I had the opportunity to have a work get-together. Unlike your work to get-togethers, Andy, this wasn't nearly as much fun, but there were some smoked meats, and there was the opportunity to play some games. It's really kind of funny. One of the people that was on a different team thought he was this really big gamer, that he had a ton of games, and so that's not a contest. I'm out to like win.
You're winning though, aren't you, Nathan?
I am. But it's not something I'm like, oh yeah, well, let me tell you about my stuff. But I did have a coworker who apparently was all about that. So whenever this guy would start talking about his games, he's like, hey, Nathan, how many games do you own? And so the guy was like, I have so many games. I got this big game room that I'm redesigning. I got this space for this big table that I'm going to put in there. And I'm up to 300 games. And then my friend would chime in, Nathan, how many games do you have?
He was trying to get you two to throw down.
He probably was. And then I'd be like, I got about 1,500 games. And he'd be like, what? And he was just flabbergasted. But then he wanted to tell me that his games were all, I got heavy games. And I was like, okay, I'm not going to sit and compare my game collection to anybody. Everybody has the right to their own game collection, and they can deem it as large or as wanting as they want. So I brought in some games to play. And so we got the opportunity to teach my coworkers Don't Mess with Cthulhu and Inside Job, which were two games that this other individual had not played or heard of. And he was very thrilled and very taken with both games. And we had a great time, played several rounds of Don't Mess with Cthulhu, got to teach some people who, in my opinion, were very reserved and not very kind of outspoken. And to be able to see them try to identify who was the agent or who were the investigators and who were the cultists. And one guy just didn't get it at all. So, we'd go around and say, well, I'm an investigator and I have all futile investigations. And then this come around to this guy and he's like, well, I'm a cultist. And
Oh, you're kidding.
I got Cthulhu. And then when nobody would pass him the flashlight, he was like, well, where's the other cultist? Like, well, those of us who weren't passing you the flashlight made sure that it was going back and forth just to us. And so we ended up controlling the whole game. But it was kind of funny to see new gamers kind of grasp that whole hidden role game. And then we've evolved that into Inside Job, where it's a little bit different, included some trick taking, but also included that hidden role and that being able to cheat or not follow the lead suit and be able to take some advantages of bending the rules, and to see these network professionals who are all about very strict rules try to manipulate that into something that was to their advantage. So it was very entertaining to see a different personality of those individuals I work with. So,
I think we take for granted, we play a lot of games. I think we take for granted the amount of stretching your muscles, your mental muscles, I guess, that playing a game actually does for you. You mentioned that you had some coworkers that had a hard time grasping it. So we played That's Not a Hat at my work party that we hosted. Really simple game, but we had one individual, only one that really didn't grasp the game, and he was struggling. He's like, the card would get past him. He's like, okay, and every time it was like 5 different times it would get past him right in a row. And he's like, I still don't know what I'm supposed to do. And he's not an unintelligent person, but it makes you think in a different way because it's outside of the way people normally think. So if you're not a gamer, it stretches those mental muscles in a different way that I think we take for granted because we play so many games. And it really is a good thing for people to think about things in a different way and to force their minds to work differently than what they're used to. I think it's awesome.
Yeah, 100%.
You're absolutely right. Yeah.
Board games are such a great medium to kind of coax people out of their shells a little bit.
For sure.
But when they're out of their shells, you never know what you're going to get. You get a whole gamut of reactions to what you're playing and doing, but it's always fun to sit back and watch. You get people out of their shells, you pop your popcorn, you sit back, you watch what happens. It's good times.
But that was my highlight.
That's a good one.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited to talk about World Wonders. I got to play this last week. Honestly, I think this is one of my new favorite games. Have any of you had a chance to play this yet?
No,
I have not.
Okay. You are all going to like this game quite a lot, I believe. This is it is a polyomino game. So you're going to have a map. It's double-sided. One has a lake, one has a river, and it's got a grid on it. You are trying to place out these different sort of building zones represented by polyominoes, but the game comes with 21 monuments, and they are these actually really quite nice little wooden components that have like a really nice sort of tangible 3D presence on the board. And if you meet certain conditions, you can snap those up from a center market and put them out onto your map, and all in the hopes of sort of building your resources, building your population, and eventually outscoring your opponents with the highest scoring map. This is just an incredibly fun game. It's streamlined, so this is not an overly complex game, but it's highly satisfying. So everything you do in this game is really satisfying to do. The polyominoes are cool. The monuments are cool. And win or lose, it's hard not to be proud of what you've built. It's one of those where when you're done, you kind of step back. You almost want to pull out your camera and just be like, hey, this was the map I created. You know, I had the pyramids and I had the lighthouse at Alexandria and I had the Great Wall of China, you know, and all these little monuments and things that you can build out there. It's very, very cool. Has a lot of, like I said, sort of tactility with those wooden pieces. It's easy to teach and it even played pretty fast. So we played this at a full 5-player count and it got a little bit bogged down toward the end game because everyone was kind of really trying to maximize points and really kind of think about where they wanted to put those polyominoes on their boards. So it stretched out a little bit toward the end, but it was still, you know, a relatively quick game, even at 5 players. I will say, so the one thing about this game is that at 5 players, we ran out of those monuments really quick. So about halfway through the game, all 21 of those monuments had been placed out on people's maps. And so it left me thinking like, well, this game really needs like a monuments expansion, like something that'll throw extra monuments into the game. And I sat down, I made notes for this podcast and I had put that in the notes, like this needs a monuments expansion. And then I was actually thumbing through stuff earlier today and they have announced coming in Q2 of 2024. They do. They have a monuments expansion in the works that should be out that introduces 9 new monuments to the game. And hopefully we'll introduce some maps and stuff like that. It just said 9 monuments and a new gameplay mode. So I don't know what that means. I hope that means that they're going to bring more maps, but this is just a really satisfying game to play, not overly complicated, but the things that you do and build are just incredibly satisfying. I had a great time playing this game.
Yeah, this looks really cool. I love these pieces. It kind of has a cheaper version, a kind of a cheaper feel of Foundations of Rome.
Like a little bit, although the gameplay and what you're trying to do is very different. Yeah. There is kind of a little bit of a bidding mechanism that happens in the center, but it's not the same in that you're bidding for like grid. You're just bidding for the polyominoes. And then once you obtain them, you can put them wherever you want on your own map. So I can definitely see some similarities and comparisons there. Although I would enjoy playing both of these games for very different reasons. Really loved it. World Wonders. Fantastic game.
Wow, looks fantastic. So we're here, the year 2024.
Yay.
We did it, guys.
We did it. We put 2023 behind us. Things are looking brighter this year.
It's another year in the books in a post-pandemic world, which is good because the further we get away from that stupid pandemic, the better.
For sure. So looking back at the year 2023 and reflecting on all the trials and issues that we've had, what stands out as some amazing highlights as that relates to your gaming world? How about you, Andy?
My biggest highlight is going to BGG with my daughters. We got there and this is going to sound rude, so I'm going to preface that right now, but I'm not meaning it in a rude way. I was really bummed that nobody else was coming until I got there. And, and then I'm like, I am thoroughly thrilled to just be here with just me and my girls and spend time with them. And it was...
Oh, it's a great experience.
Oh my gosh, it was so much fun. We played 23 brand new games to us, and we had something like 48 plays or something like that.
Awesome.
And it was a blast. My girls had a ton of fun. Watching my daughter Amara, when that vendor hall opened up, was like watching a little tiny kid in a candy store. And then I thought that was, her eyes were wide then, and then the flea market opened.
Oh my. Yeah, I didn't even ask about that.
Yeah, she, let's just say both of us went a little bit overboard on the flea market, but that's usually when I go overboard. I don't typically buy a whole lot from the vendor hall, but when I'm getting a good deal on games, let's just say I had to buy an extra bag to get
I was home. Just going to ask, how many extra suitcases did you have to fly home?
Just one. It was like last year, I had to buy one extra Board Game Geek game bag. Yeah, I had to do that again. And I wasn't planning on it. But
and left all your clothes and everything else to get to make it all fit.
Replaceable.
Yeah, clothes are replaceable.
It actually worked out great because I had to put the clothes around the games themselves to fit everything in. And it rained and got all the clothes wet.
Oh, so you saved your games.
But the games didn't get wet at all.
Nice.
So it worked out perfectly as far as that goes. But when I was able to pick up Frosthaven with the inserts and everything for $100.
Oh, that's a killer deal.
And it was brand new. It was just open and organized. That's it. Never played. In fact, the cards were still sealed. Everything was brand new.
Yeah,
For $100. I'm like, I can't pass that up.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And that took up a lot of space.
it did. It's a pretty big box.
What would really be cool is to play it.
Yeah, that would be awesome. I started reading the rules. So
Play it. Do we do that anymore? Do we actually
campaign
play games anymore?
yeah,
We'll play about 10 into it, and then
we just need to
Fizzle out.
leave it up. So we'll play it more often.
We just need to do like we did before and leave it set up on the other
Yep.
table over there, the other game topper, so that when we're done recording or whatever, when we have extra time, we can just slip over and play our
Sure.
next mission.
Yeah,
That worked well with Gloomhaven. We need to just do the same thing.
I agree 100%. But that was my number one highlight was hands down, not comparison to anything else, was BGG with my daughters.
that's awesome. How about you, Doug?
Man, I had so many great highlights. So I'll start off by just talking about conventions. We had some outstanding conventions this last year. We did SaltCon Bryce, SaltCon Spring. We went to Icon. We had Hug 'em Meeple North and South. We had SaltCon Summer, end of summer. And so I was actually I went into my BG stats and was looking at plays and everything. I had, between all of those conventions that we went to this year, 108 games logged at conventions this year.
That's awesome.
So it was, conventions were fantastic. Got to play a lot of games and got to play, like this year was one of my most diverse years on record. So not only did I get to play a lot of games, but I got to play a lot of new games. So I had it was 198. So almost 200 unique games played this year.
Wow, that's incredible.
awesome.
Yeah. So it really, really good. Cause I've had years in the past where I'll have 1,000 games played, but that's over, maybe 40 or 50 different games. So this year I'm close to the same. I'm close to about 1,000 games played, but that's spread over 200 games. So it's been a really, really diverse year. And I love that. I've actually really enjoyed being able to just kind of experience a whole breadth of different games, and just kind of see what the industry is doing, where it's going, check out different mechanics, art styles, publishers, everything else. It's been enlightening. I think it's been a really good year for that.
Yeah. How about you, Dave?
I was just looking at my stats as well. And the first 4 months of the year, I was averaging around 80 games per month. And then school started. and
then it was a game a month?
No, I was still at like 5.
That's good.
That's good.
But yeah, it dropped from 80 to 5 games per month for most of the year, and then it picked up again the last in December. For me, it's gonna be Hug 'em MeepleCon. Typically that both North and South, those are some of the highlights always, right? We talk about how much we enjoy getting together for that convention, for all the conventions really, but that one always stands out. And I had a great time with it. I usually play a bunch of new games there as well. If you've listened to the podcast long, you know that I love new games. And so I was looking at that, and I played 98 new games over the year. And so that was awesome. That meant I got to play my favorite game 98 times. And and I logged over 500 plays. But I stopped when I was in school. I actually stopped. Time was at such a premium that when I finished a game online with Nathan or with Dennis or whoever, typically I logged those games. But I was like, nope, that extra time, I was like, I'm not even going to worry about logging them. So I had more games, but didn't get to log them all.
Speaking about Hug 'em MeepleCon, there was a moment at Hug 'em MeepleCon that made my 2023 highlights. And it happened to be a game that I wasn't playing. In fact, I missed most of this game and came back. I came and walked into this game at exactly the right time. And it happened to be a werewolf game.
It was a great werewolf game.
So this was where you guys were playing over, was it a legacy version of
It was the
werewolf?
legacy version, yep.
And it had been going on for hours.
Well, it was our third game, which we had to repeat the first one. So it was actually our 4th game. So everybody was getting a little bit of werewolf fatigue.
Yes, and I believe there were 4 people left in the game.
Yes, there were.
There was one werewolf, and there was at least 2 villagers. I think Linda was the ally to the werewolf. I don't even know what that is.
I can't remember. She was not the tanner. Maybe she was the tanner.
Whoever the ally is to the werewolf.
Yeah.
So Nathan had everybody close their eyes and said, "Werewolf, who do you want to kill?" And there was no answer for a minute. And he said, "You can kill Lydia. There's Lydia, Linda, and Claudine. And
Wait.
he didn't say anything.
That's only 3.
Yeah, exactly. And he goes, and everybody else goes, and Jack. And he's like, oh yeah, and Jack. Totally giving away who the werewolf was after all that time playing. And Nathan gave away the werewolf. It was pretty awesome.
But ironically, Jack actually had one before that round because whenever the werewolves equal the number of villagers, they win.
So it worked out great anyway. We got a laugh, and it didn't really ruin the game.
Yeah, no, and I got a lot of jabs in my direction and became the butt of a lot of jokes.
You still do.
I still do.
Yeah,
it's become a
we're
running
recalling
gag.
right now.
It was so funny. Oh my gosh, it was so funny.
But yeah, it still was a ton of fun. And that did make for a very hilarious ending to that jaunt. But yeah, good times. Werewolf Legacy. Looking forward to some more of that coming up in SaltCon Spring or Hug a Meeple Spring. So for me, I played some games this year, 1 or 2.
Good job.
My biggest highlight is that I got to play a lot of those games with my wife, which was something that kind of started 2022, getting her to play some games, and then just took off in 2023. And we've played a lot of games at the table, and we've played a lot of games on BGA. You know, playing games on BGA allows us to take our turns, and sometimes those games are quicker playing them online, and sometimes they take a lot longer. I mean, most of those games are taking days to play. Having turn-based turns, and we can play 10, 15, 20 games at the same time. It's pretty good times. But I have played almost 1,500 games with my wife last year, which is a huge amount of games to play in a year, and then to have played that many with her is just I'm super excited. I'm on kind of cloud 9 with that, and that kind of just keeps going. So our top 5 games, I mean, just to kind of give you an idea, I mean, they're not all big, beefy, heavy games, but our number 1 game that we played 97 times last year is Can't Stop. Shifting Stones played 95 times. Potion Explosion we played 82 times. Draftosaurus we played 76 times, and Patchwork, her all-time favorite game, we played 71 times, and I'm pretty sure I lost 65 of those.
Wow.
Yeah, it's her all-time favorite game, and she excels at it.
You know, I look at the number of games you played with your wife last year and the number of games I played with my wife last year, and they're really close. I played 16 games with my wife.
Yeah, you just take off those 2 zeros.
Yep.
I mean, there's zeros anyways, right? They don't matter.
Who cares? I mean, it's 0. Yeah, it was not a good year for gaming with my wife.
But I think we've gotten to the place where we just will play a lot of games together. We play a lot of games at the table, and that's part of the thing is I cater quite a bit of my collection to games that she will play.
For sure, yeah.
And if it's something that she'll play and she'll like and she'll get to the table, she's willing to get to the table again and again, even though it's a game like Can't Stop, I'm totally willing to play that.
I can see your wife liking Can't Stop because she probably can't stop.
No, she is very much into that pressure luck, and she presses it all the time. And that's one that she doesn't win very often.
Yeah.
But more than the 5 times that I've won Patchwork.
I just looked up my stats because you guys talking about this was making me curious. So I've played 64 games with Lydia this year. So, which is pretty good because she doesn't play any online games. So that's all at the table. So 64 is not shabby.
That's not bad at all.
Not 1,500.
Yeah.
But we've had some really good times, good games played this year.
One of my other favorite things, and a lot of this has to do with, a lot of my highlights have to do with gaming with my kids. I love getting them around the table and playing games with them. One of my biggest highlights was being able to play Skyrim, the board game, with my kids. And I wasn't sure how they were going to take it. They all play Skyrim, the video game. So I didn't know how they were going to feel about playing the board game implementation of it. And every one of them was just all in. They were fully immersed in the game. They were excited to play. And then my daughter started college and it slowed way down. But before that, we were playing all the time. And it was kind of a chore to get the game finished once she started being busy, as college students are, right, Dave? Mm-hmm. But it was a fun experience. And it was one that luckily we had the space to leave the game up and had it readily accessible. So when we had a second, we didn't have to spend all that time setting everything back up, remembering where we were. Everything was still there. We just sat down and played. That game is a great game. I have had so much fun with it. And I still haven't played the Dawn's Guard expansion. So they all want to play that. It's just a matter of finding time when all 3 of my kids that play would be available to play it. But it was a great experience.
Yeah, playing games with your kids is awesome. I'll throw out one last highlight for me. I did get to play. We finished 2 campaigns of Arkham Horror this year, and we're now on our 3rd. Play that with the Deans, Matt and Monica, good friends of mine. And so we've played that 15 times this year. Every single one of those games has been such a highlight for me. I love Arkham Horror, the living card game, and having people who I can sit down and play with on a consistent basis. It's not all the time, but we can usually make, at least 1 or 2 sessions a month work. And those are incredibly fun game sessions for me. I love that experience. So I'm super excited that I am continuing the Arkham Horror love.
Arkham Horror is great.
So I look at some of my highlights and using BG stats to compare some of that information. Ashley, my daughter, who I also like to play games with, but she is living here with us again, so that is nice. But for her and I, we've gotten together and played 70 games. And the bulk of those games has been Star Wars, the deck building game, which was a great game that came out in 2023, one that has been a great success for me to get to the table many times. But looking at it, I got the chance to play 31 different games with her, which is great. But then looking at the year overall, so for the year 2023, I played over 2,100 games in total.
Wow.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible.
A little bit crazy. 215 unique games, so 215 different games. 129 of those games were new to me. Played with 126 different people, which is great. 126 of my closest friends. And are any of you guys familiar with the H index, what that is?
No.
Yeah.
So the H index, it's a stat that's on BG stats. And what it is it's a game that you've played. It's a number of games that you've played a number of times.
Right. So like you've played 10 games 10 times, or you played 30 games 30 times. Yeah.
And so for last year, 2023, I played 25 games 25 times. And so I look at some of those counts, like Can't Stop. I played more than just with my wife. Can't Stop was a game that I played 111 times, 2023. And I think that's the first time I've played a game over 100 times in a year. But it was interesting to kind of look back at those stats and to compare all that information. There was 287 days of the year I was playing a game.
Wow.
Is that on the heat map in the app? Is that what you use?
Right there on the insights.
Yeah. So this isn't like a BG stats plug or anything, but I love the information that provides. And that heat map is super cool.
Yeah. And it just gives you a whole bunch of information that's there. And so you can section that off by the year and who you've played with, the games, and it'll list the games by, the game you played the most. But I had a lot of people at the end of the year try to keep track of their nickels and dimes, games that they've played 10 times, games that they've played at least 5 times. And so I have 46 games that I played at least 10 times. And then for my nickels, which do include my dimes, but there was 74 games in total that I played at least 5 times, which, there's a wide variety of games in there from digital to on table. The bulk of those are all going to be on table games still, but just a ton of different games played. And the more games you play, the harder it is to keep all those rules straight. And it's
it's the never-ending battle.
Yeah, it is. But it's a good thing to have. I think it's a great opportunity to kind of just explore all these different games, and makes us what we are. Gives us something to talk about each week.
Awesome. So 2023, fantastic year for games, despite us being busy and being engaged in a lot and having very busy families and everything else. Still managed to get quite a few really fun games to the table. Let's dive into kind of the meat of the episode and talk about our top 5s. Top 5 games of 2023. And I'm excited because 2023 threw some amazing top tier games our way, and was super thrilled to play them, and now super thrilled to talk about them. So starting us off, Nathan, what was your number 5?
So my number 5 was a Kickstarter that I got early on in 2023, and that was new mechanic that was introduced in the game Rolling Heights. Rolling Heights was a game where you rolled your meeples. So you would roll your meeples in the box or on the table, and depending on if that meeple was flat on its back, on its side, or on its head, or if it landed on both feet. That dictated whether that worker was exhausted working or working hard. And you would be able to gain rewards, gain resources, depending on how hard that meeple was working, and that those workers would allow you to build resources, build buildings, and this very tactile game. You're putting a lot of cubes on the board. You're rolling all your meeples. Very new mechanic and very new twist on playing with these meeples. And it was a game I very much enjoyed. It's a very approachable game and one that is, I think, fairly accessible. That does have a little bit going on, so it is kind of overwhelming to new players. We had the opportunity to play this with Tammy and Dave Bremer, and Tammy was a little nervous about playing this bigger boxed game because, much like my wife, the size of the box determines the complexity of the game. But Rolling Heights, really accessible to teach. Everybody I've taught it to has really enjoyed it. But great game, Rolling Heights.
I struggled with this one a little bit just because D6 hate me and D20 hate me, and apparently Rolling Meeples hates me as well.
You weren't shaking your hands.
I wasn't shaking my hands, but no, yeah, this one was a little tough for me because I did have bad luck. I got to the point where I was trying to even use the tray to try to give myself a little boost on rolling those meeples, and they just didn't roll well for me. But it admittedly was a cool mechanic that got introduced. I thought it was neat.
Yeah. My number 5, I've already touched on. It was one of my yearly highlights, and that was Skyrim. Fun game. I love the adventure part of it. I think they did a great job getting the feel of the video game put into the board game. There were lots of side quests and things you were trying to do, and the story was kind of cool. So, that was my number 5.
For me, I tried to pick some things that weren't going to overlap with some of you guys' stuff for the most part. And several of my games are actual games from 22, but I didn't play until 2023. Number 5 for me was Flamecraft. It was a good game the first time. I've only played it the one time still, but played it at, I think, Doug's birthday celebration. And it was a really good game. I thought it was just solid all around, a game that we should totally pull out again sometime because it was really good.
I actually really like Flamecraft. Good components too. Really great components and art in the game and super fun. All right. Well, my number 5, and I will preface this by just saying I really tried to stick with games that did come out in 2023. Not that was like a requirement for making the list, but if I had stuck with my favorite games that I played in 2023, this list would be much different and would mostly be full of non-2023 games. So that was just kind of a personal challenge for myself. I said, no, I'm going to really just look at games that came out in 2023 and decide what were the best games of the year kicked out at us.
And that's kind of why I took the route that I did of just trying to focus, because mine would have all been the same as all of you guys. So I would not have had anything to add.
Mine was a similar approach, but mine was games that were new to me in 2023.
Yeah, which I think totally works.
Yeah.
Now, a couple of my games, they were 2022 games, but they were not available to us in the United States or available to purchase until 2023. So I did allow those to come forward just because there was no way to play them until 2023 hit. So that all said, my number 5 was After Us. This is one we've talked about on the podcast before. I love the deck building and card play of this game. The resource management, it hits across the board for me. It's a shorter game. It's not quite filler, but it's that nice medium weight game that you can get out and play in a decent amount of time. It's a relatively easy game to teach. It's got good art, good components, and I really love that mechanic of laying your cards out and trying to line up all those boxes to try to maximize what you're getting out of those. I find that building your deck is super interesting, and every time it's a little different. At first, when I first played it, I was like, well, this is clearly the strategy you've got to take to win. And then I played it again and I was like, well, this is clearly the strategy you've got to play to win. And then I played it again and it was the same thing. No, this is the strategy. And what I found is there's not a bad strategy in the game. It's just making sure that whatever you decide to do synergizes with the next thing you do, right? So you're really kind of building that deck to produce, a lot of points and a lot of resources and rage or whatever it is. You want to make sure that you get those decks working for you. And that puzzle, I think, is incredibly fun to solve.
I'm going to disagree with you on this one. There is a bad strategy in this game, and it's whatever I choose to do during the game. Because I lose every single time I play this.
You haven't grokked this game yet.
I think I've come in last place every time I've played this game. I love the game. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's a great game.
But yeah, I'm terrible at it.
One of the things that I think is also worth mentioning in this game is it has a bunch of simultaneous play.
Yeah.
Which is great. And I have actually loved it. And I'm going to give a little shout out to myself here.
Go, Dave.
Way to go, Dave.
You're amazing.
During the simultaneous play of this game, the last 2 times that I've played it in person and not online, I was almost every single time either the first or second person ready and done. I just needed to point that out.
I think we're all in shocked silence.
Good job, Dave.
Thanks.
Way to go. We are proud of you. Nathan, what is your number 4?
So I'm pulling an audible because now that you mentioned that 23, I double checked the dates on my list, and my top 4 were all from 2022, but I only played them this year. I played them for the first time in 2023. So that's
what I did.
yeah. All right. So I'm going to reverse that audible. Then I'm just going to stick with it. So the next 4 games on my list all came out in 2022, but they were new to me in 2023. And so number 4 on that is After Us, which actually did come out in 2023.
So now you got to pull another audible and change it again. Yeah, After Us was 2023, but your top 3
My
were
top 3
2022.
are really from 2022. But After Us is a great game, which we've just already talked about. So carry on amongst yourself.
All right. So my number 4 is a game that Doug graciously introduced to us. And it was one that we're like, no, seriously, Doug, when are we going to play this? I saw it set up on when you played the solo playthrough. I'm like, no, seriously, when are we going to play this? Stop playing it solo. Let us play it. And that was Oathsworn. Wow. What an amazing game.
It is.
Oh
It's
my
so
gosh.
good.
It's so fun. The components are awesome. The story is like very immersive. I love the story that's going along with it. It's kind of a cool world that they've built with this. The gameplay, I like how it's split into 2. You have kind of more of an intrigue style gameplay at the beginning, and then you have the battle that you fight a monster of some sort or monsters for the last half. It's so great. The mechanics are awesome and solid. The components are great. What a fun game. And I look forward to us hopefully finishing the campaign. That would be awesome.
Yeah, I really hope so. So I just got all of the 2.0 stuff in the mail not too long ago, and I finally had a chance yesterday to sit down and get all of it integrated. So I'm not that I want to, manipulate you here while we're talking on the podcast.
Consider me manipulated.
But I
That didn't take much.
most of the characters got buffs to their cards. Woo-hoo. And they changed some things about the play. In fact, Dave, you're playing the witch. I think the witch, I had her entire all of her cards got replaced.
Oh, wow.
And most of them got buffed. So they either got an animus cost reduction, or they got a boost to their defense value, or something else that makes them better. There were a few things that got nerfed. And then there were some general balances to some of the encounters and all that kind of stuff. But getting all of that integrated into the box, which took me, a few hours to get it all, make sure everything was updated to the 2.0 version, got me really excited. I am jonesing to get that back to the table. So I'm super excited.
Yeah, I can't
Let's
wait.
make it happen.
Let's make it happen.
I chose number 4, a game that I was taught at HugoMeepleCon South, I believe, Tilitum, or however it's pronounced. And this is a really fun game. It's a dice management game. The dice have multiple functions. So it's the management of the dice is really interesting. There's somewhat of a rondel, Nathan.
I do like a good rondel.
And it's just a really good game overall. I wasn't super excited about it at first because it's kind of a theme that has been done a million times, but it's done totally different than any other. And so the gameplay just makes it completely fresh, completely new. Definitely worth giving a try. Tilitum.
Nice. I haven't even heard of this.
Oh, really?
No.
Yeah, I've heard of it, and I've been casually curious, but you'll have to teach this to us sometime.
Yeah, I'd be absolutely happy to. It's really good.
Awesome. My number 4 is Arceus. So this is one that came out this year, backed it 4 years ago, but it finally got delivered. And this is a really, really fun dungeon crawl set in steampunk Egypt. Has a lot of really fun, simple play. So it kind of takes that dungeon crawl, a lot of the mechanisms and things that you would find, and it kind of condenses it down into a pretty simple form, but it uses cards really cleverly, and it uses some 3D terrain really cleverly. This is one that I played through the whole campaign with my son Brigham. So, going back to really great memories with kids this year playing games. This was one of those for me. Absolutely loved the game. I thought it was great. And I do have a reset kit for it. So I'm really looking forward to resetting it and actually playing it again on probably a harder difficulty. There is a way to ramp up the difficulty on this, and I think it needs it, especially for experienced gamers. So that's something that I'm really looking forward to. But my number 4 was Arceus. Awesome game.
I almost backed that game. I was so close.
Oh, really?
And backed out of it, yeah.
Well, I have the reset kit. Let's get that one on our list of campaign games. I started that sentence and then realized we've got a lot of campaign games, but we really do need to get it played. It's good. It is good.
All right, we to number 3.
We are number 3.
All right, this is a game that came out in 2022. It was fulfilled to backers in 2022, but I didn't get a chance to play it until SaltCon spring of 2023. And this was one that I was very much disappointed that I didn't back, because this was by far the greatest and quickest hidden role game. And I say greatest and quickest, it's definitely not the quickest hidden role game, but its level of greatness compared to its quickness. Okay, I just totally botched that.
No, it's a good balance, though.
Yeah, it is a really good.
It's a fantastic hidden role game. A lot of them are mostly short.
Yeah.
This one's a little bit longer. It's not too long, but it's got that nice medium weight, but you are enthralled with what's happening
Absolutely.
the entire time.
Yeah, and this game is something that both Doug, you, and Andy have enjoyed, and both of you are rather adverse to hidden role games, but something that has been able to get to the table again and again, and I very much enjoy this game. And this is, have I even mentioned what it is yet?
Not yet.
Okay, well,
I'm waiting with bated breath.
Wow. It's Feed the Kraken. I was wondering what that smell was.
Yeah. I was just going with the theme.
I like it. I think it goes from 3 to 11 players. Even with 11 players, it still runs really quick and just gives you a really good feeling of excitement. The game can swing one way or the other, and just being able to have everybody actively involved for as long as they are playing, I think Feed the Kraken takes that hidden role game to the max.
I'm going to give this a backhanded compliment, but I don't mean it that way. I'm doing that a lot apparently this episode, but this is a game that I'm never excited to play. When it's hitting the table, I'm like, okay. But I think that's because it's hidden role. But as we're playing it and afterwards, I had a lot of fun.
Right.
Right. And you're like, okay, that was really fun. I'm so turned off by hidden role games. I think that's why I lack the excitement to play it when it hits the table. But as soon as we start, I'm having a good time.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a great game. New to me in 2023, but very much worthwhile and something that I'll be playing for years to come.
A lot of good laughs.
For sure.
Yeah. Gets everyone laughing and talking and pointing fingers of accusation. Does all the things that I think a good hidden role game should do, which is why I don't like hidden role games, because most of them don't do that.
Right.
This one does.
Yeah. And other hidden role games just scratch a little bit different itch. I mean, I love Battlestar. I love even Unfathomable is great, but just Feed the Kraken, quick, digestible, and good times.
Fantastic. Andy, what's your number 3?
My number 3. Now, I'm going to preface this a little bit. I was never a huge fan of any of the Clank games. I mean, they were okay, but I never liked them enough to ever buy a copy and have it on my shelf. I just figured, we'll probably play it with somebody else. A lot of people have Clank. Clank Legacy was a lot of fun, though. I did really enjoy that. However, Clank Catacombs, I played that for the first time this year and immediately had to pick it up. And it is an amazing game. I love Clank Catacombs. In fact, I believe it was my most played game this year.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I've had so much fun. It's one we've introduced to new people, and it's so quick to play, quick to teach, and honestly, the replayability, at least for me, the replayability is high, because every single time I play it, I'm never able to go for the same strategy, because just the cards that are available, and you're kind of forced to go in a certain direction. And I have a ball every time. In fact, we played it on Saturday for my cousin Dennis's birthday, and it honestly ended very epically. So it was a 4-player game. So we were at max player count. My cousin Richie, my cousin Max, and my cousin Dennis. Dennis had one round before he was going to get into the safe zone, and the dragon was pulling full cubes and there were 2 danger cards out. So we were pulling 7 cubes from the bag and he got killed. And then the next round, Max needed 1 round to get into the safe zone and he got killed. I managed to get into the safe zone. Richie hardly had any damage and he was fairly deep into the depths. But then you had Dennis pulling cubes and Max pulling cubes because they both died. And I was in the safe zone, so I was buying cards as quickly as I could to get the dragon to attack. And sure enough, Rishi was 1 round away from getting into the safe zone as well, and he got killed.
Nice.
It was awesome. So I was the only one that scored points, and I think it was like 85 to 0 to 0 to 0. So
This is the second time you've had an experience like this.
it is actually. It was just as epic as the first time it happened.
I love all of the Clank games. I think Clank is a fantastic game. This was also my number 3. Just for all of the stuff that you said, it's just a great game.
Well, I love the tiles, right? Where the board, that's what is really the replayability.
Yeah, the exploration. Well, and they're really cool too because they have a lot of different things going on. So the order in which they come out can completely change the game.
For sure. Yeah.
Fantastic.
All right, with that takes us to you, right, Doug?
Absolutely. My number 3, this was the first game on my list that technically was a 2022 game, but it immediately sold out and was not available until a second printing hit in 2023, and that was Heat: Pedal to the Metal. I thoroughly enjoy this game. The racing theme is typically not my thing at all. I don't enjoy that very much. In fact, while I had some good times playing games like Formula D back in the day with my boys, I quickly culled that game because I just don't find it that exciting. Heat, I find incredibly exciting because the mechanisms in it work so well. And it actually turns that race into something that is, there's some real anxiety, almost like kind of adrenaline at the table as you are racing around the board and trying to maximize and use your heat efficiently and manage your deck and your hand and maximize your turns. So I have thoroughly enjoyed Heat. I think it's a fantastic game. I think it puts, I am one of those people who thinks Days of Wonder who has struggled a little bit in recent years. And I think this puts them back on the map with a fantastic title. And I'm really looking forward to diving into some of the advanced play and also the expansion coming next year, the Torrential Rain, which I found out. So it kind of came out as an official announcement from the source that I read. And then I found out later that it was kind of a leak from one of the stores in Spain. So technically Torrential Rain has not been officially announced, but maybe by the time the podcast comes out, it has. But as of the time we're recording right now, it's not official, although it is. So I'm really looking forward to that.
I'm excited for that to get up to 7 players. That game is really very versatile for a 6-player game to be able to play simultaneous and flow and not feel like it's a 6-player game. And there's so many of those 6-player games that you're just dragging in between turns. I just love that the simultaneous play that we're going through with this. And Heat made my number 6, so didn't quite make my top 5, but it's an excellent game. I'm very much looking forward to exploring that more and more.
Awesome. And that is going to take us back to you, Nathan, with your number 2.
So my number 2 we've already talked about, and that is Oathsworn. And I, too, am very much looking forward to getting back to that and getting that to the table. This is a game that was new to me in 2023, but this is a game that has been phenomenal.
My number 2 is Planet Unknown. This was new to me last year as well. And as soon as the Kickstarter for the new expansion that came out, I obviously had to pick it up, even though we're going to have like 3 copies among us. That's because it's an amazing game. It has to be on my shelf. We'll play it at my house with my kids. Well, the gameplay's awesome. Once we started, I loved the game when we first started playing it, when we were playing just the regular abilities. Everybody had the same start. And then we flipped the boards over and a new world opened up to us.
Yes.
And that game went from fun to amazingly fun. It's so great.
I am still dying to play with the new maps.
Oh, you haven't yet?
I still haven't.
Oh, it is. They're
so good.
Yeah, you're in for a treat because they are awesome. And you get different combinations because you get your company board that you start with, and that's asymmetrical. And then the planet that you start with is asymmetrical as well. And just how those powers mesh is completely different every time. And I love it. It's an amazing game. And the revamp is going to have a lid for the Lazy Susan. So that's nice.
That is spectacular.
My second favorite game of 2023 is actually the only game that came out in 2023 on my list, and it is Imperial Miners. I played it twice. Andy played this at BGG and came home and was like, you guys need to try this game. It was great. He taught it to us, and it was great. And played it again, and it was great again.
As soon as I played this game, I knew this had your name all over it. I thought, this is a very cool engine builder, and Dave's going to love this game.
Yeah.
And be good at it, and I wasn't wrong.
Doug, have you played this one? You haven't played this one yet, have you? Imperial Miners?
Wasn't this the one we just played at your house the other night with the cards that go down?
Oh,
Yeah.
Did you? Okay, you did get to play it.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I got to play this one the other night, and it is very good. I enjoyed it. I'd need to play it more to, I think, make a decision on how much I like it. There were aspects of it that I did very much enjoy. There were also aspects of it that I don't know, just kind of have question marks by. I just need to play it more. One time wasn't enough to decide. I like it though.
What was your number 2?
My number 2. So there's a great scene from a great movie starring Will Smith, Independence Day, where after racing, through some canyons, chasing this enemy alien craft through these canyons, he finally outwits it and manages to disable it. And he's blows up his plane and he parachutes in and he walks up to the alien spacecraft and he opens the hatch and he punches the alien in the face and he goes, "Welcome to Earth." And I feel like that is what Earth has done to us, is punched us in the face this year. I think Earth is probably one of the best games of 2023. It's my number 2. I think it is an absolutely fantastic game. I have had a ton of fun playing Earth. So the whole premise of this is based on the idea that everything is a net positive. So every card in the game, every action a player takes, there's a lot of simultaneous play. So when somebody takes an action, everybody else is doing stuff, and everything is designed to have a net positive. There's never a moment where you have points or resources or anything taken away. And that was a deliberate choice on the designer's part. So on top of just being a fantastic engine building game and being able to do all these really cool things, and I have not had a play of this that hasn't missed, even though I think I've only won it one time. Every time I've played it, I have absolutely loved it. And it is because of that. It's because of that net positive feel that the game has. Every minute of the game, you're doing something and it's all beneficial and positive, and you're just earning buckets and buckets of points. I love Earth. I think it's a fantastic game. Can't wait to play it some more.
Pretty sweet place to live too.
Not bad.
This is a game that I bought for my wife, and I even etched my name on it so that if she didn't like it, I would keep it.
Here, honey, here's a gift for you that's
Well
really
done.
for me.
No, that is absolutely not the case. But I did buy this game. It was kind of funny this last Christmas. That is what we did, is I bought my stuff, she bought her stuff, and everything was perfect.
How thoughtful.
Yeah.
How thoughtful of you too.
It was great.
I've been trying to avoid buying this game because we have several copies among all of us, and it's proving to be very difficult, but because it is a phenomenal game. We played this also last Saturday, and I got destroyed in it, but that's beside the point. I still had a blast, and that to me is the marker of a great game. You can completely get decimated on the score, and you don't care because you had a good time.
Yeah, I think visually this game is spot on. The play is great, like you talked about. The net positive, everything is positive. This is a game that I got for Christmas because I know it's a game that my wife will enjoy playing.
This was going to be on my top 5 as well, but I knew without any question that it was going to be talked about. So that's one of the reasons I went a different route. Nathan, you and I have the same choice for number 1 game.
Here it is.
All
Number
right.
1 game of the year, the best of the best, the creme de la creme. What is it?
And for me and Dave, that game has been Stars of Ikarios. I have looked forward to playing this game every chance that we've got, and every time we play it, it just is phenomenal. You're on away missions, you're doing stuff on the ground, you're doing dogfights. The story seems to be right there with everything. It has a feel of Gloomhaven, but in my opinion, better. And I love Stars of Ikarios.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. And this probably would have made my number 1 as well. I actually did consider it, but I do have logged plays of this in 2022. So sticking to my challenge, where I was trying to stick to games that were just 2023 or only available in 2023, it didn't make my list, but I also absolutely love this game.
Yeah, it's so good.
Yeah, we've had a lot of fun with this one. I have thoroughly enjoyed it also, even though it didn't make my top 5. It's been a lot of fun. Well, my number 1 game is one that I was introduced to at BGG, and that is Pirates of Maracaibo. And as soon as I played it, I knew I needed to own this game. And unfortunately, it's still not available to buy. But when it is, this is going on my shelf. It was my highlight of BGG. We ended up playing it a couple of times while we were there, but it's easily my favorite pirate game now.
Even better than Dead Reckoning.
I think I enjoyed it more than Dead Reckoning.
Wow.
That's high praise.
Yeah, I really like it. Now, I'm hoping the replayability is high. I think it is, just because of the way the gameplay is. You're moving across the board. The board is created out of cards. And as you are interacting with a card, it gets exhausted and replaced with a new card. So the board's constantly changing as you're playing the game. And you're sailing it from one end of the board to Maracaibo. And once you get there, it resets and everybody goes back to the beginning again. And you do that 3 times. And then there's an exploration board on land that you're trying to get through, and you're gaining benefits as your explorer is traversing the paths on the island as well. And there's ship upgrades. There's just a lot going on in that game. Thoroughly enjoyed it, and I cannot wait to get a copy of it so that I can play it more often than just the 2 times that I played it at BGG and introduced you guys to it, because it was a lot of fun.
Fantastic. Well, that makes me excited. That's one I really want you to teach me now.
Yeah. I think it's one that, you've picked up Maracaibo now.
I have.
Just to kind of scratch that itch while you're waiting for this to get a U.S. release. So that's, I'm looking forward to it as well.
That is exactly why I picked up Maracaibo, because I needed something.
Along those lines, yeah.
Yes.
That, like Doug said, that is super high praise coming from you. We just, when we were at Dennis's party, we got to play Dead Reckoning, and there was talk about that being like the ultimate pirate game, right? This is the pirate game of pirate games. Stop making them, because you can't beat this.
And it may be because it's new, but I enjoyed my play of Pirates Maracaibo more so than I did Dead Reckoning, and I love Dead Reckoning.
That's awesome. Well, that will take us to my number 1, which, so this game was technically a 2022 release, but it was not available in English and in the United States until 2023. Didn't get my grubby hands on it until 2023. This is a game that I fell in love with really after reading the rule book, which, I love when you have that experience where you're getting components out and you're reading through the rule book. And as you're reading the rules, you're like, I can't wait to do this. I can't wait to do this. Oh, that sounds awesome. This is very clever. And that's kind of what it was, even just going through preparing to learn how to play the game. And so this is Revive. I really am in love with this game. I want to play it more. I wish that I could get it to the table more often. I really love the way the sort of exploration works in the center of the board, the way you move out to those corners for endgame scoring. I love the way that your board works, kind of the board you have in front of you with all of its little recessed slots and the pegs that you're moving around. I love the way the technology works, the asymmetric abilities. The card play, I think, is fantastic with all the multi-use cards, the way you can slot them in right side up or upside down for different effects. The way that board works, again, to kind of unlock additional slots to play cards. When you grab your cards, the way everything works in this game kind of hits on all cylinders for me. This is definitely my favorite game of 2023.
It is a fantastic game as well. Yeah, no, everything you described was awesome. This is another one of those that I probably would have had on mine, but in interest in talking about more than 5 games, I went another route.
I need to play this again. I've only played it the one time.
I agree.
Man, it was fun. I want to try one of the different civilizations and have that different asymmetrical start and asymmetrical ability. But yeah, this is a great game.
Yeah. And this is one, I think, Nathan, I think you only played this once, but it was at SaltCon.
Correct.
And you won that game. I mean, you did very well at it.
Yeah. This is one that Cheryl played too, and she very much enjoyed. And I've contemplated picking it up and just haven't pulled the trigger on it. I'm hoping that in this upcoming year, I'll find it at one of the conventions swaps and be able to add it to my collection there, because Revive is a great game.
Yeah, and I just added the Call to the Abyss expansion to it. So I haven't had a chance to play it yet, but I'm also super excited about that. So, man, 2023, what a great year for some amazing games.
For sure. Even with all of its ups and downs, we have played a lot of amazing games, and it was a great gaming year.
Yeah. I know that all of us, I think, put some honorable mentions on our list. I'll just rattle off mine. You guys can, talk about yours. Shake That City, I think, is a fantastic little game from 2023.
For sure.
Actually really caught me by surprise. Fairly simple, but really, really like the gameplay on that. Queen by Midnight, a new game by Darrington Press. I think this needs a little expansion to help kind of infuse the deck building with a little more oomph, but I liked the theme and the components and everything on it. Marvel Zombies is my new favorite way to play Zombicide, probably until Deceased comes out. Star Wars, the deck building game. One of my new favorite deck building games, and the Star Wars theme does just done incredibly well. Expeditions, new game, Scythe themed, sort of a sequel to Scythe from Stonemaier. I just need to play this one more. I think this one will rise on my lists and ranks, but I've only had a chance to play it once, and it was a great play, but I want to play it some more. And then another one that I only got the chance to play once, and it's killing me, is Scarface 1920, which is a game I absolutely loved, but I couldn't put it on a top 5 list, having only played it once, and it was toward the beginning of the year, and I just need to spend some more time with it.
It looks like a great game. I was really excited when you had it at SaltCon and didn't get a chance to play it with you. As far as 2023 games that made my honorable mentions, Wild Tiled West was a great game that pulled off that whole drafting mechanic a little bit different and gave that game a unique twist. Shake That City again was on my list, and of course my secret hit of 2023 was That's Not a Hat. Such a phenomenal, simple little game that has hit our table a number of times, and just like wildfire, when we teach somebody to play it, somebody's buying it. And that game has just been a hoot. I mean, it is just full of laughs. Just a great experience altogether. That's Not a Hat is my honorable mention. That is, I really like the game, but I felt it was too simple to put on my top 5, but very much needs to be in my honorable mentions for 2023.
Yeah, that one definitely has a deserved place, at least in the honorable mentions. It's hit my table multiple times, and it's kind of a party style game, but fun. So, so I have 4 honorable mentions, 4 kind of 5. Acropolis was, Nathan, you ended up buying that, and it was so much fun. I love that game. Mycelia, we played this at BGG. We played the new version of it, and it was Sierra's favorite game until we played my next honorable mention, which was Comet. That game was awesome. It's a tableau builder. As you're exploring, you're trying to save dinosaurs, save species. And when you save a dinosaur species, you gain that card and add it to your tableau, and it's worth points. It has, you gain the ability on that card that you get to use some of them once per turn. Some of them will have a static ability that you get to use. And you're just building this tableau of cards that is going to allow you to save more and more dinosaurs, score more and more points. And it really was a ton of fun. And I didn't know how good of a replayability it would have. So we played it a second time at BGG, and it played differently, and it was a ton of fun the second time around. So it's one that once it's available to buy, we're going to pick that one up for sure. I'd love to get that for my daughter for her birthday or something. I think she'd be extremely happy about that.
That does sound like fun.
It was great. And then my last 2 are both Shadows of Brimstone. It was the City of Valhalla that came out this year, and the City of Ancients. Or excuse me, Gates of Valhalla and City of Ancients that came out this year. It was the Norse theme and the Spanish Hispaniola theme for Shadows of Brimstone, which brings kind of a different adventuring type mode to the game, and has more like teamwork abilities as you're working together. We haven't played those yet, but it did offer new monsters to play that will get added to the base game as well. So like all of the Shadows of Brimstone content you get to add to the base game, or you can play some of the offshoots. So more miniatures to put together, more miniatures to paint, and we're just adding more work to my
never-ending
more
painting.
shadows to Andy's
more
collection.
Yes, and more to come this year. So
That's fantastic. Well, once again, just to reiterate what a fantastic year has been with some great games. Can't wait to continue playing some of these great games in 2024. And then also 2024 looks like a year full of great games as well. So a never-ending,
ever-growing, always escalating
there it is,
opportunity to play more games.
Absolutely.
And there are some fun ones on the horizon.
So let's get to playing them. Until next time.
We'll see you shoving those old games off to the side to get something new to the game table.
Thank you for listening and being a part of Meeple Nation. If you would be so kind as to follow, subscribe, share, and rate or review this podcast, it really helps to spread the fun. You can be more involved in supporting the podcast by joining the nation at patreon.com/MeepleNation, or you can find a link at the top of our webpage, meeplenation.com. And while you're there, look at all our extra content. There are links to all our past episodes, a wide variety of blogs, pictures from our Instagram feed, and bios for all the hosts and our awesome bloggers. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, all under Meeple Nation. If you would like to chat with the hosts or other members of the nation, you can join our Facebook group, Meeple Nation Off Air. We hope to see you again at a game night, a con, or maybe a suspense-driven evening of Werewolf. Thank you for listening and supporting Meeple Nation, and stay tuned for next week's episode.
Thank you so much for listening. We very much want to thank our patrons who help keep the podcast running. I personally want to thank my co-hosts for all the help they provide with both content here on the podcast, in addition to what we have available on our website. Without them, the podcast would not happen. If you too would like to support the podcast, you can join the nation at patreon.com/Meeple_nation. Or you can find a link to Patreon at the top of our webpage, meeplenation.com. If you have any questions, comments, or games you feel should be on our radar, you can always reach us at meeplenation@gmail.com. We can't wait to hear from you. I am grateful to Doug and Andy who helped me edit episodes, and I want to thank James and Kim Clark who do the editing on our blogs and on our webpage, which can be found at meeplenation.com. We want to thank Brain Detergent for our music. If you want to find more from him, you can follow his links that can be found on our webpage, or simply search for Brain Detergent on YouTube to find more of his tracks. Thank you again for listening and being part of the Meeple Nation community.
You're doing great, Dave.
Thanks. We love our Game Topper products. We plan our...
So much love.
Ready? Okay. You sure? You're still red.
I'm good. I'm holding it together.
Are you? You're not.
Okay.
It's not that funny.
Go.
I don't think we're ready.
Grow up.
Good.
Nope.
Oh, Nathan got the giggles.
No good. It's not even funny. Why am I laughing? I
have no idea.
Okay, done. For reals.
We enjoy our...
It's good thing you don't need to pee anymore.
Good.
I don't even know what's happening.
I don't either.
I don't either. I have no idea what's been happening the whole time.
Okay, I'm done.